You know, it's really funny. This feels like a journey that's been years in the making. When I sort of embarked on starting a Beast Wars collection, I said to myself then that I was going to focus on characters that appeared on screen, and then when I had it all done, I was going to kind of do a series of reviews about those characters, but inevitably I got sidetracked time to time. I did random scattered ones throughout the history of the channel, and then last November I sort of resolved myself that I was going to do things now, and I at least made my way through the Maximals. And then with the holidays coming on and Wave 1 of Siege and some Studio Series figures coming, I got sidetracked again, and it was only recently that I resolved myself to try to finish the Predacons. And I had one in particular from both sides, both factions, whether it was Maximal or Predacon that we were talking about, but I had one in particular that I wanted to save as last. I don't know if it's necessarily a case of the best for last, but it's certainly a case of, I guess the one that I put the most personal investment into for last. Who am I talking about? What am I talking about? It's this guy. It is my highly customized Transformers Beast Wars Scorponok, and he's going to be our focus in the latest GotBot True review. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot, and I am absolutely ecstatic that you're here today to take a look at this guy with me. Please like, comment, share, and of course subscribe. Check out Machinery of Man, the Everything Factor, Transformers Collectors NL, and me everywhere. And this is Beast Wars Scorponok with a lot of custom paint work done, man. A lot of it. Here's the thing. When Beast Wars came on, I didn't like Scorponok because he wasn't the G1 Scorponok that I knew. He did not turn into a huge base or city. He did not have a headmaster gimmick. He was not Lord Zarek. But as the years have passed, I have found that I've grown accustomed to this guy. I have a fondness for him. You know, he always aspired to more, but never quite got the respect he deserved. Even when he and Pterosaur fell into lava, like, nobody noticed. I don't know. He never really got a fair shake, but he was always kind of a glorious idea. I mean, you know, he was a scorpion, and they're always menacing and dangerous and all that stuff. So it sort of fit him well. This is also the last of my Beast Wars collection. And my collection is made up of a lot of like KOs and like Generations figures and like original figures. They are all for characters that appeared on the program. I do not right now have Transmutate. I don't really want to spend the money on that thing because that's a weird thing, man. I don't have Dinobot 2. Maybe I'll get that eventually. I'm not sure. And I don't have the Tripredacus Council. Besides that, I think I've covered all of the other characters that appeared on the program. And this guy is like a real oddity among them because he hasn't really had any updates. There have been other characters named Scorponok, and they have been custom painted to look like the Beast Wars version. Most notably, the iteration from the RID line, RID 2015. But this guy's never really had an update, and I don't even know if he really needs it because this is still a pretty glorious figure. Though, to be fair, out of package, he was black and red, and I don't even know what you would call the color that was on his, like, claws. Although these look more like crab claws than scorpion claws. It was this weird sheen, bluish thing. It was weird. It was weird. I wasn't happy with it. So I guess the life lesson today is when you're not happy with how something looks, fix it. That's what I did in this case. Did it work out? Was he fantastic anyway? How well did I manage to evoke the animation? How good is this guy? Well, let's head over to the table and take a closer look at him. And while I wouldn't say that I saved the best for last, I certainly saved what I deem to be the most interesting for last. Now, to be fair, I'm probably a little bit skewed in my view on this guy because I have put so much of myself into making him look the way that I want him to look. So I will do my best to remain objective as we go through here, but I'm not going to pretend that it isn't going to be difficult. First and foremost, this is the original 1996, I want to say, Mega Class Scorponok. We've had a couple of Scorponoks over the years, not a lot. Certainly not in reference to the Beast Wars character. I've seen some custom jobs done where people use the Scorponok from Robots in Disguise 2015 or Predacon from that same line, and when you paint that figure up correctly, yeah, I could see how it could stand as Scorponok. There was also the, I want to say TFSS, the subscription service. They put out a little Legends class version of Scorponok that was based on the Legends class Scamper mold that came with Generations Metroplex. But for an actual proper Beast Wars Scorponok, this is pretty much all we've had. Now, to be fair, my ideal notion of Scorponok is a Titan, man. It's the G1 base city scorpion Scorponok with Lord Zarek as his head. That's my version of Scorponok. But as the years have passed, indeed, this guy has made the name his own as well by kind of eking out his own fandom. When we talk about the paint apps, by rights, he was mostly black with some red highlights and this, I'll call it sheen. No, I'll call it like, it was like a cloudy, almost shell-like, weird bluish plastic, I suppose. I don't really know what to call it, but it was a weird plastic. Most of that, like on this class, for example, I pretty much painted to be a gloss purple. Some might argue that where I have purple put, you might want to use blue, potentially. Possibly. I could see the argument for that. Do I think it's necessarily clear which one of those colors is exactly animation accurate? Do I think it varied a little bit? Yeah, I think it varied a little bit. And no, I don't think we can say with complete certainty which one was actually correct. Nevertheless, I like what was done here. I'm very happy with it. This tail piece, it can move up and down. There's a ratchet right here, so it can actually like move forward. Now it's actually a really like heavy ratchet, so you can do that, so it looks more Scorpion-esque. It comes forward like this. There's a little lever back here for like a stinger gimmick. And you push it, you know, and it'll sting. I guess works back here too, so it'll sting, I suppose. These legs don't really move. The claws up here, well, we have the full shoulder joint, we have the elbow joint, we have a rotation here. This is the claw, that's the B claw. I am missing a little like lever here to launch the B. In fact, I have the B fixed in here, really with a lot of wire. And it's not going to come off, but I don't really care because I don't ever remember it coming off in the show, so I don't really need it to. This over here is his claw that has the two missiles in it. I have seen a custom where both claws have the missiles, like somebody used two of the same claw. That's cool, because I think on the animation both claws did in fact have the missiles in them. Nevertheless, I'm cool with how this guy looks right now. Now, before we go on, we do have one other thing that we can point out. We do have an ever-popular collector card. In this case, it really just tells what his two claws can do. I can't really show the B accessory because, like I said, it's affixed into position. Nor can I particularly, well, I guess I could show the missiles firing. They fire no problem, but like, they're spring-loaded missiles. Do you really need to see any more than that? Besides that, he really doesn't have any accessories to speak of. So here we go, collector card. I hope that this made your day. for the record, I know that this is in rough shape, and the back of it is just cardboard. But to be fair, do we really care? This is my sad attempt to try and sort of show you the paint job in Scorpion mode a little bit better. I'll talk about what I did, and I'll start giving scores for this guy once we get him in robot mode. But like, to me this looks like Scorponok. Like, to me this looks more correct than just having his body be pretty much straight up black with that weird colored plastic for the claws. And I think maybe on this tail section up here it was a weird color. There was a little bit of red already on that tail tip, on the stinger bit, and his legs were already red. But besides that, like, pretty much this guy had to be done top to bottom. So the conversion for this guy is, it's not hard at all. It's actually very interesting. It's weird, but I'll try to show it as best as I can. The thing to note the most is that underneath the chest section here, we have 3 5mm ports. I think they're 5mm ports. Right now, there is a peg on each leg that is up in those ports. You should push the legs out. They will separate rather easily. You begin to bring the legs down under the body, and really I find that you will do best to bring them out to the side. Let me reposition because this is getting a bit weird, I know. Before we go on, I just wanted to point out that there are in fact 3 peg holes, I guess, right there. They're behind his chest. The 2 that are closest to either shoulder are the 2 that the like ankles, I guess, were just pegged into. The one in the center is where his head will peg. Like, really his neck pegs in there. It could hold a little bit better on mine, but I don't know if that's a problem with the mold or results varied over the years. But this is kind of like, you know, in underneath the body, or like behind his torso, so to speak. I wanted to point that out so that you know how things are moving back here. So we untabbed the legs from this peg over here and this one over here. The center one is where our focus will be from this point forward. Gosh, is it hard to know exactly how to show this guy. So all we've done is we've untabbed these legs. Like I said, there's a peg on either kind of ankle down around here, goes into those holes that I pointed out. Next, you pick up the head and the neck piece. The head right now has a battle mask covering it, but you can just easily push those 2 pieces back, and there's his head, also custom painted. This little circular piece here will go up into that section that I pointed out where the peg hole is. So really what you're doing is taking this whole section and now flipping it up over the body. These legs, they will straighten down kind of behind the body on these ball joints. So come like that and kind of come like that. And that's how they will sort of straighten out. We take this and fold it up and peg the neck into position. Take the leg and straighten it down, and take the leg and straighten it down. I know he's gone off screen. Let's back things up just a little bit. Yo, Scorponok, you lovable scamp. So we took the legs out, we kind of brought them down around on their ball joints. We flipped the head up, we brought it up and pegged the little circular peg into the center slot of the 3 that are in behind this chest piece. Whoa, that sounds a lot more complicated than it actually is. We open up the feet, and now he can stand up. Then we come to these legs and we close them in around to become like his ribs. We come to this arm and we turn it at the bicep swivel and then turn the claw at this swivel down here so that he has a forward elbow. We do the same over on this side. We turn it and then swivel it and bring it down. We're just about done. There's only one thing left to do. And while he looks good like this, the one thing left to do is to come to the back where his tail is, because right now his tail is way stuck out like that. And it, too, swivels around like that. And then you remember me mentioning the ratchet from earlier? You push it up on that ratchet. It's a tight ratchet too, man. Very tight ratchet. But in the end, once you have that done, boom, here we have Scorponok in his robot mode. So here we have him, and I think he looks glorious now. I think he looks like the Beast Wars character. Outer package, the paint apps, as far as I'm concerned, were a 2 or 3. Like you knew it was Scorponok because it said it on the box, and he sort of turns into a scorpion. And I say sort of because while he has the tail, come on man, those claws are more like crabs than they are scorpion claws. I get why they did it, child safety and all that, but it was a stretch to say that it was Scorponok. Now with the paint apps, I mean, I want to say 10. I want to say 10,000. But I know I'm being biased because I put the effort and the work into it here. So, to be fair, I'm going to say, though I don't see what other apps could be added to make him animation accurate, I also understand if certain shadings or certain colorings would be interpreted by people differently, such as the purple being more blue than what I have here. I mean, I could see the argument for it. So I'll say it's a 9. I certainly think it's closer to the animation than what we had stock in a package, even if it's not perfect. What did I do here? I used a gloss gray on his kind of upper arms and elbow sections and on his torso. I used a yellow that's called Butter. It's just called Butter. It's called Butter. The purple is a gloss purple. I used silver on some red detailing up on the scorpion tail. The very top of the scorpion tail, mine could come off. I don't know if it's supposed to or not because it looks like mine might have some plastic broken on it, so maybe it's not supposed to come out. But the stinger part does. I don't remove it because I don't see a point in removing it, and it holds just fine there as it is now. I don't need to disturb it. The kind of dark color like you see on his legs and his chest and most of his tail and like all of the kind of battle mask, even around the upper part of his claws here. That is a really interesting mix that I did of gloss black and gloss gray and a little bit of silver to give it a sparkle and a sheen, and I think it worked out. It turned out really, really nicely. I'm so happy with the kind of gunmetal gray look that came out of it. You know, is it perfect? Maybe not, but like I said, I'm going to say a solid 9. In terms of the transformation, though perhaps it just looked cumbersome because of me trying to show it, it's not one that lends itself to being filmed well, but it's easy, it's intuitive, it makes sense, yet it's interesting with the way that the legs fold up to become the like body and head of the scorpion, but then how they kind of rotate all the way down and how the body sort of collapses back up on itself. I think it's brilliant. I'm going to say that it's you know what? I want to say 10, but sometimes the peg that holds the like head and I guess back into the chest doesn't like to hold perfectly secure. That peg that's like part of his neck, that red peg that's like part of his neck, it doesn't always want to hold secure, but that might just be my copy. It might be the fact that this guy's 23 years old. You know, I mean, it is what it is. But, yeah, I mean, I'm going to say again, that's a 9. That's what I'll do. I'll say that's a 9 because while I want to say 10, I have to concede that sometimes that one peg does like to come out. Still, a 9 for a 23-year-old figure is pretty good. What about the articulation? Well, the articulation we already know in his scorpion mode, like the tail can move forward and it has that flicky gimmick, which still works here for the record if you really want to use it. The arms, we saw that in scorpion mode, but just to reiterate, they can go all the way around. They can go well out to the side. We have an elbow to 90 degrees. We have a dedicated bicep swivel. And here's the thing. We have a swivel and then we have a hinge elbow. That's what we're starting to see again in the Siege line. Swivels and hinges rather than an excess of ball joints. We have a swivel down on the forearm for the claw. The claw here can open and close, and is this the one that, this is the one with the bee in it. By rights, there's a little, like, I don't know what you call it, lever, I suppose, that you're supposed to be able to use to fire the, you know, the bee drone. My bee drone is affixed into a position. I'm not firing it. The other hand, or claw, it can open and close. We have the 2 firing missiles in there. Again, I'm not firing them, but you get the idea. In terms of the legs, now this is really weird. You would think that they can only go out this far, but that's not true. If you open out the legs of the scorpion, honestly, oh, and his body just came apart on me. See, that's what I was talking about. If you open the scorpion legs out, honestly, you can get the legs way out to the side. I think that's great. I need to kind of get this body back together and then we'll finish his articulation. And pardon that ever so slight technical difficulty. Like I said, sometimes that peg up there likes to come out. As I was previously saying, the legs, they can go well out to the side if you open up these scorpion legs. Even if you don't open them up, they go out a little bit, but you can get extra movement by opening them. Nevertheless, it goes well forward, the legs go well back. We have like a thigh swivel, but it's around the ball joint up in the thigh. And we have 90 degrees at the knee. We have toes that can tilt forward. And we have a heel that can also tilt. He does not have a waist. There's the biggest shame with this guy. No waist. But he's 23 years old. And he followed up after the bricks that we all know and love from G1, and he has, outside of a waist, oh, and I don't know if I said this, but the head, because it's on a ball joint, really, it can go, if I can get it to move now, might not want to, just to be a nuisance, but it does go left and right. It does wiggle up and down slightly. Here's the thing. I think the guy is tremendous. He was getting a 9. It'd be nice if he had a waist, but because of his transformation, that's not really possible. I can forgive it because everything else that he does really well. You would think that he would be a nuisance to get to stand. He's not. He stands like a champ. I have one elbow that it's a little bit loose, but you know what? Honestly, I chalk that up to age more than anything else, because the truth is, I know that this guy was loved and played with because it's not one of those like mint in box specimens. I got the guy, and like his screws that are holding him together are rusted. You know, it is what it is. It was just an old toy, and now it has found new life. I'm going to say the articulation is a solid 9. Overall, I'm saying that this guy is a solid 9. If you want to get really, really nitpicky, you could say 8.5. But right now, I want to say a solid 9. Nevertheless, let's see how this guy stacks up with the rest of his team, and indeed, with my Beast Wars collection in general. And here's the whole Predacon family portrait. Now, this is really it for my Predacons. Some people would say, hey, that's not the entire team, and indeed, it's not quite the entire team, I suppose. I tried to keep my Beast Wars collection to really characters that appeared on screen. That's not to say that there aren't other fantastic figures and molds. There are. And there's a few that maybe one day I'd like to get if I find the right deal at the right time. But, you know, having Megatron, who I have here, and Scorponok, and Pterosaur, and Tarantulas, and Waspinator, and Black Arachnia, even though it's the animated one, apparently she was retconned to be Beast Wars Black Arachnia, to have Inferno and Quick Strike, like that's the core ones. Yeah, oh, and Rampage. Like, the argument could be made, hey, that Ramhorn, C-Clamp, and what's his name? Predacon, was that it? The argument could be made that that Tripredacus Council was on the show. Yeah, sure. Maybe one day I'll get them, but like they appeared, what, once? Maybe twice? Not a lot. So, whatever. Yes, The argument could be made that Ravage was on the show. I really don't want like a Shadow Panther type of repaint of Cheetor. That doesn't really do the job for me. I don't want to paint an arm and a leg for the, what was it, Botcon maybe one. So I may never get that Ravage. Plus, it's the same as G1 Ravage, so I'd rather kind of have my Ravage as G1. And last but not least, I don't have Dinobot 2. I've considered getting him, but I don't... Since he's a clone of the actual Dinobot, I don't know if I really want another representation of that character since I have the maximal version of him. I don't know. I'm kind of out on him. I may get him one day, one time. But in all honesty, for feeling like I have kind of a good, solid coverage of the Beast Wars Predacons, I feel like I got it here. And while some of them, a lot of them, are incomplete and many needed some custom paint work, I'm happy with how this turned out. And indeed, this finally draws us to the conclusion of my coverage of my Beast Wars collection. A while ago I talked about, you know, kind of cluing up a lot of things and getting finally caught up on a lot of things on the channel, such as like the coverage that I had of movie figures up to that point. Anything that I get now is new or new to me. Well, this is one of those same examples. Right now, everything that you can kind of, sort of see here, I've covered at one time or another on the channel. My Beast Wars collection is a mishmash of new and old figures. It is KOs and official. It is from different iterations such as, well, Beast Wars itself, Beast Machines, animated, Power of the Primes, classics, and so on and so forth. But those characters who appeared on screen in one form or another are pretty much represented here, with a couple of notable exceptions such as Transmutate or the kind of Dinobot 2, that clone, and the Tripredacus Council and Ravage. That's really the only ones missing. Anyone who had, you know, a significant role on the show has really been covered here. There is a range of customization that's been done, but I'm really happy with how this kind of part of my collecting journey has turned out. I know Beast Wars isn't for everyone, and I kind of grew to love it over time because I didn't either initially. But you know what? It is a series that brought us some of the most memorable and interesting and dynamic characters that we've ever had in the franchise, and indeed it has also brought us some of the most entertaining toys of any of the lines that we've ever had. As far as Scorponok goes, since he was the focus here, he still stands at a solid 8.5, no doubt about it. But all of these, in their own way, really stand out as fantastic toys. A couple of exceptions, maybe. I'm looking at you, Generations Rhinox. And here we are once again, and I love this guy. Maybe I went a bit easy on him because I am so personally invested in him. I love the mix of the black, gray, and silver that gave us this kind of gunmetal gray look. I think it's a beautiful color and it has a beautiful shine on it. I wanted to make sure to use gloss, and I don't think I explained this part, but I wanted to make sure to use gloss like on his claws and his shoulders, because the way the animation was, he always sort of had a wet look to him. So I wanted to sort of capture that, and gloss paint was the best way to do that, no doubt. Could he use an update? Maybe, arguably, but this is still a tremendous figure with pretty excellent articulation. It uses hinges and swivels, which is something we're seeing again now in the Siege line. Probably something that we should have always had. I think overall it's usually a better option than ball joints. The hips, they're all right on this guy. They're not too loose. Do I wish that I could open out his legs further without having to open out the scorpion legs? Yeah, I do, but like, you can kind of fake it till you make it. I don't know. I still think he's pretty great. The whole firing bee gimmick thing over here, that never interested me. So I sort of set this up specifically so that it's not going to fire. I could, if I wanted to, I could, you know, jury rig something, so to speak, here so that it can fire. It's just I don't want it to. from everything that I've seen and that I know about the figure, that firing is just a nuisance. I love the look of the guy. The argument could be made that perhaps the purple should be more blue, maybe, but that's sort of how you interpret the animation. The paint, obviously, is what I'm easy on with this guy. The transformation, kind of brilliant. You know, the way that the body sort of collapses with the legs kind of going up and becoming the body of the scorpion, and then the way it all sort of unfurls and the back tabs into the front is simple, intuitive, but sort of genius at the same time. I think that the peg, sometimes coming out behind the chest section, is just an issue with mine. I hope that's not widespread. I don't know. This is the only version of this mold that I've ever encountered. You know, I'd love to know, does yours stay pegged in better than mine? And it's not bad. Like, if I have them like this, like, it's not falling out or anything like that. It's just sometimes if I move them too much, it does like to come unpegged. The articulation is pretty great. The conversion is pretty great. And the colors, I think I fixed it. So, that being said, you know, you by now have seen the entire Predacon team. You've seen the entire Maximal team. You've seen both of them together. That's it. I love the Beast Wars line. And I know that even though there are characters that I don't have, and who knows, maybe I'll add some if I see them and think they look cool. Maybe I'll add some from Beast Wars 2 or Beast Wars Neo. I wouldn't necessarily just pass them over anymore. Sure, sometimes they look a bit bulky, like the big tail sticking up here, but at the same time, while you would think it would be a hindrance, it's really not. Beast Wars toys were, and still are, pretty fantastic. Anyway, let me know if you are into the Beast Wars line, if you were ever into the Beast Wars line, and what you think of these figures, especially Scorponok. I don't know, did you ever do any custom work? Because I know a lot of people have, and I've seen some beautiful work done. Or were you just happy with him being black and red? Maybe you just like him stock in a package, and that's cool too. Anyway, thanks for dropping by, giving me some of your extremely valuable time yet again. And I very much look forward to the next time that you and I get together. And I have something pretty interesting and pretty involved coming up. I'm not even sure how I'm going to approach it yet. But I do look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit right here inside the videos.